Quick heads up, story number 3 in this video does contain sensitive subject matter. It is not necessarily descriptive, but the subject matter could be viewed as sensitive to some people, and this is your fair warning on that. There is also a warning at the beginning of that story, so just a heads up. I, 32, female, absolutely loved visiting my great-great-grandma. I called her Granny, and she was my grandma's grandmother. She lived to be 99 years old and was just 6 months shy of turning 100. She was the sweetest little lady, and I would ride with my papa or grandma, or parents to go visit her to take her food, or just spend time. She had the smallest little house with the smallest couch and TV. Her stove and fridge were also tiny. She loved those dry and crunchy oatmeal cookies that have the crunchy icing on top of them. If you know, you know. But she would dip them in her coffee. Not relevant, but bringing her up just makes me want to paint a picture of who she was, just so you can understand how precious she was. She couldn't hear her for crap though, so when you pulled up to her house, you could hear her TV from the front yard. Most of her things were very old. She kept many knickknacks, but they all had a place and were very organized. She had a curio cabinet with backlighting and mirrors that displayed some really nice dolls. I played with Barbies, so I just thought Granny knew how to have a good time. I never asked her about them though, but I remember she had names for them, and she took good care of them. I remember her referencing one of them by name and smiling and pointing. I thought it was kind of weird, but I was just like, whatever, she's old. When she got to be 99, I don't really remember her being sick or anything. She lived on her own till the very end, and took care of herself. It's like her body just quit working and one day she was in hospice. I was about 15 years old, maybe, and I'd been reluctant to go see her and say my goodbyes. I was keeping busy with friends and activities, and I had my head held high and was acting tough and just telling people that I didn't want to see her like that. My dad picked me up and we were on our way home one night and he says, "Are you sure you don't want to go see her?" We just passed her house as he said that. She lived a mile away from us. The timing of that question and the sound of his voice made me reconsider. And I said yes. I want to go see her, while holding back tears. My dad whips the truck into a faster speed and takes me up to hospice until we're at the hospital. My entire side of the family is there. All of their eyes are wet. There's people in the hallway, doorway, and they all look at me with such despair that I felt ashamed that I was not there before. I walk in and the lighting is so dim, and many people are gathered around my granny saying prayers for her. I get there and the crowd opens up. I walk up to her and touched her body. She's not on a ventilator. I know now that they were waiting for her to pass. She looked so still and peaceful. What scared me was her feet, though. It looked like she didn't have control over them and they curved inward like they were lifeless. She was snuggled up in a blanket, and her glasses were off. Her hand was by her side and I go to grab it, and I whisper, so quiet that I don't even know that anyone could hear me over their own crying, "I'm here. I love you, Granny." And I hold her hand for a few moments, until I hear her take one last deep breath. She was gone. I was shocked that she passed in my hands. It truly was heartbreaking to experience that. Some time passes, and we have the funeral, and honestly, it was a celebration of life, and probably one of the funnest funeral potlucks I've ever been to. It's like her youthfulness and fun-heartedness filled everyone in our family. My aunties had office chairs races in the hallway. We ate that potluck dinner and ate all the food we would get for her birthday. Fried chicken, baked beans, deviled eggs, sweet dinner rolls. Potato salad, little smokies, cheesecake, pie. The weather that day was so sunny and beautiful and the perfect temperature. It was like we could forget how much we missed her because her spirit exuded enough joy in every part of our lives that day. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable and scary. Some of the adults start fighting over Granny's stuff and her house, and what should be done with it. I respected and loved her so much that I was disappointed with how they were treating each other and her things. I didn't know the whole situation, but basically I heard that some of the family held a garage sale and sold off all of her things and wanted to sell the house right away. While, for others, I think it was too soon and too hard. As an adult, now I can look back and recognize that everyone grieves differently. But when my mom asked me if I wanted anything, I knew that I wanted to stay out of it. After some days passed, though, I started thinking of her home and missing her, and I recalled a yellow pillow where the entire front was one giant rose. The ruffles in the square pillow spiraled into a flower shape, and I remember going over there and holding it. I asked my mom if there was any chance it might still be there. She said that no, it was probably sold in the garage sale. It sucked, but what could you do? But I think my mom reached out and asked if there was anything left. She came home with 4 stone dolls. They looked like they were lawn ornaments, but I had never seen them before. Each one was about a foot tall. One of them kind of resembled Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Yellow dress, brown hair updo, one blonde with the blue dress holding an umbrella, and a redhead wearing a pink dress, and the 4th was a blonde wearing a white/gray dress. Keep in mind, the entirety of them were like stone. They looked like they were young. Their faces resembled maybe 12 to 13-year-olds. They were somewhat realistic looking too. I frowned when my mom gave them to me with a kind of expression and said, "Thanks." They immediately creeped me out, and I was so frustrated that this is what I got to remember her by. Some dolls I have never seen before. They'd probably been outdoors and they were water damaged or sun dried. In my very teenage way, I went to my room and shut the door and kind of stomped off. I hated looking at them. I hated them so much. I put all of them in my closet in the top shelf, but I turned their faces to the wall so I didn't have to look at them. I'm sure months went by, and from time to time, one of them would catch my eye. If I'd see the back of their dress and just get mad all over again, but I would try to ignore them. One night, I'm home alone. I'm an only child if you haven't gathered. And I think my parents went to dinner, or they were at work. It was pitch black outside. It was winter at this point, but no snow yet. I just got off work from my mall job, and I wanted to shower. We had 2 bathrooms, and I usually use the girls' bathroom, but because it was so cold in the house and I hadn't built a fire yet, I wanted to shower in my dad's bathroom because it was closer, cleaner, and honestly my favorite bathroom. I take a shower, maybe 15 minutes, but even with the hot water I get out because the cold air becomes just so intense that I can't take it anymore, as it hits my entire body. It feels like the outside air is right in the bathroom with me. So, in my towel before I could even wrap my hair, I run to my bedroom because I wanted to get warm and get dressed, and build that fire. It was so cold that I couldn't stand it, like shivering hard. Then, as I run the 3 feet from the bathroom to my bedroom, I open my door. But it was like I walked in on something and interrupted something that I shouldn't have been walking into. Before I can even react or register what's happening, my heart drops, and my stomach drops, and I scream. And at that point, I'm screaming my head off. Every hair on my body is standing up. I'm covered in goosebumps. What I'm seeing is each of the dolls, spaced out, away from the wall, and now facing me. They were still in the closets, and to the left, I see my window blinds pressed down open like you do when you put your face up close, and use your finger to press a couple of the blinds down so you can see out. Except, when I walk over to it, it's up higher than my height, so it couldn't have been me, and I just forgot. It was about half a foot higher than my line of sight. I'm pretty short, so I noticed this right away. There's no comfortable way for me to have done this and forgotten. I didn't have any pets that could have gotten into it, and I was just in my room, and obviously everything was in its place. I'm so scared that I want to fall to the ground and cry, but I don't let myself. I try to stay quiet because what if I'm not alone? I frantically look in all directions of my room and see no one except for the stupid dolls. Clutching my towel, I go and smack my hand against the blind to get them closer. I have unexplainable and unexpected anger. I keep thinking, stupid dolls, I never wanted them in the first place. I hate them. I run to the kitchen where our washer and dryer are, and I grab clean clothes and throw them on to get dressed. I wrap my hair up, and I'm so annoyed because it's still so freaking cold. I rip open the cabinet where we keep the trash bags. I grab one and I stomp off to my bedroom. I'm fuming at this point, and I run up to these dolls and I start to feel like I might throw up, but I'm also scared to touch them, but also so annoyed that I'm having to deal with any of this. I grab them all and I throw them in the trash bag. I throw on my shoes, and wet hair and all, I run them out to the dumpster. I'm so freaked out, and the fear is unsettling as it's starting to set back in. I run back inside, I grab a knife from the kitchen, a big one, and I stomp around the house feeling mad and scared. And I yell, "I'm not afraid of you!" I walk through the house, turning on every light and making sure each room is cleared. I finally felt alone. And not in the scary way. I was used to being home alone. There's a difference. I tried to calm down. I start to build the fire, and I just sit there staring into the flames in front of the wood-burning stove, feeling the warmth. And I disassociate for probably a couple of hours. Almost like a sleepy/alert trance with a fleeting thought of what just happened. But I would let that thought pass me by like traffic because I didn't have any answers. My parents finally got home and I hugged my mom, and she could tell that I was upset. She tried to ask me what was wrong, but I knew that no one would believe me. I just told her I missed her and that I was tired. She helped me get something to eat and I was able to calm down completely. I slept with my door open that night. I never told my parents what happened. A few days or weeks go by and I had basically forgotten all about the whole night. Until I get home one night from work. I take my coat off and hit my light, and instantly my eyes locked eyes with the redhead doll in that pink dress. She was in my closet, facing me from that top shelf. I screamed, but this time both of my parents were home and they came in racing to me. I covered my face. "What's wrong?" they ask. I stutter out, "The dolls! Did you put them there?" They look confused and they were like, "No, what are you talking about?" I plead to my dad to please take them out of here. Without even asking, he runs to my closet and grabs them from there. But there's only the three. The redhead in pink, the blonde in the blue, and the blonde in the white/gray dress. What happened to the brunette one in the yellow dress, I thought. Was she the only one that wasn't evil? I tell my dad that I didn't care what he had to do but to just destroy them or break them, but I never wanted to see them again. For some reason, he didn't ask questions and he just did it. My mom looked so concerned and she said, "What's wrong? Tell me what's happening." I tear up and I tell her what happened. She said that she knew something was wrong but that she didn't know what. She didn't even really seem surprised. I tried to ask her where the dolls came from and why this was happening, and she said she didn't know. Then she hugged me and I finally stopped crying. My mom and I are indigenous women. Our people come from the Dakotas. She smudged the house and cleansed it with oil. I don't remember talking to my dad about it ever, but my mom did open up to me and let me know that she has also had some things like this happen. Not with the dolls, but sometimes with other things. She said she thought they were spirits, good and bad. She told me that I could just be sensitive to these things too. She brought up things that I could actually remember happening, but I didn't know that it had anything to do with spirits. There are a few stories, but I'll have to share them later as this one was quite long. I will just never understand how someone so good, like my granny, could have such mean dolls. In the early 1990s, I was known as the weird kid at school. I often wore X-Files shirts and embraced all sorts of quirky interests that set me apart from my peers. During a science class, we were studying rats, and our teacher announced that they would need a new home for one of them since the term was ending. Everyone turned to look at me, knowing I would be the one to volunteer. True to form, I eagerly raised my hand. I didn't realize at the time that Luna, the rat, was pregnant. When I brought her home, I set up a cozy corner in her cage with plenty of bedding and toys. Over the weekend, Luna adjusted to her new environment, and I eagerly watched as she gave birth to a litter of tiny, squeaking babies. They were so small and delicate, like little pink jelly beans. On each day, I marveled at their growth, and among them was a particularly special baby, an albino rat with pure white fur and striking red eyes. I named him Snow. Snow was the only albino in the litter, and his unique appearance made him stand out even more. I was captivated by him, and spent hours just watching him and the others. A few days later, my excitement turned to panic. I noticed that Snow had somehow escaped from the cage. My heart raced as I searched everywhere, under furniture, behind curtains, and through every nook and cranny of the house. I was a whirlwind of anxiety, flipping over cushions into dark corners, and even checking behind the appliances. My search turned into a frantic and desperate quest. I even moved the entire furniture in my room, hoping Snow might have found a hiding spot, as the thought of losing Snow was unbearable. In my desperation, I decided to involve Luna. I gently held her, looking into her small, beady eyes. With tears streaming down my face, I focused all of my energy on asking her for help. Despite my odd reputation and my willingness to try anything, no matter how strange it seemed, I was ready to give anything a shot, even telepathic communication. To my astonishment, a voice echoed in my mind, clear and calm. The voice instructed, "Go to your parents' room and look under a box at the bottom of their wardrobe cupboard. You'll find my baby." I followed the instructions immediately, my heart pounding with hope and fear. I dashed to my parents' room and threw open the wardrobe cupboard. I spotted the box exactly as described and opened it with trembling hands. When I looked inside, I couldn't believe my eyes. There was Snow, the tiny albino rat with red eyes, nestled safely inside. I was overwhelmed with relief and joy. Tears flowed freely as I gently picked up Snow and cradled him in my hands. To this day, I am still amazed by how I was able to hear Luna's voice in my mind. It was a one-time experience that I've never been able to replicate, despite my efforts to communicate with animals. This extraordinary moment remains a cherished memory, a mysterious and heartwarming reminder of special connections that we can have with the animals that we love. Just a heads up, this story does need a content warning as it does contain a predator of that kind. The story is about 11 minutes and 54 seconds long, so after this warning, if you do not wish to listen to this type of content, this specific topic, skip around 12 minutes. Hello, Raven. I enjoy your channel, and I wish to share with you a true disturbing story that happened to me when I was a kid. This story involves a minor and an adult, and has adult sexual situations in it that may not be suitable for all people. So please skip this story, folks, if this stuff bothers you. And thank you. My name is Sasha. I'm a Jewish lady who was born in Brooklyn, New York, Brighton Beach. The largest Russian-American communities in New York City are located in Brighton Beach and Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn. Brighton Beach is also nicknamed Little Odessa and Little Russia due to its population of Russian-speaking immigrants from the Soviet Union. Many Russian Jewish people immigrated to Brighton Beach, especially. The Atlantic Ocean nearby reminded them of the Black Sea. My mother came to America for a better life from the Soviet Union and became a schoolteacher, got married, and had a child called Sasha, which is me. I loved living in Brighton Beach. It's a neighborhood located in southern Brooklyn, and it's famous for its seaside location, iconic boardwalk, and bustling nightlife. One of the most popular attractions in Brighton Beach is the New York Aquarium, which provides visitors to witness the exotic marine life from around the world. I also love going to Brooklyn, New York's Coney Island Beach, and amusement parks too. In both places, my friends and I love to eat the pizza, French fries, ice cream, and other yummy things to eat, along with the attractions. My girlfriend Olga and I even found an old gun in the Coney Island weeds once. I was 12 years old in 2011, and school was out for the summer. So, my mother and I planned to go to Brighton Beach together. My father had to work that day. I did not know then that this was to be the beginning of a nightmare for me. When my mom and I got to the beach, we set our blankets down. As soon as we did, my mom told me that she had to go to the bathroom. I told her I would wait for her on the beach since it was so close to the bathrooms. This was a mistake, thinking back about this now. I was not thinking about stranger danger too much back then. It was almost like clockwork, like his eyes were on me as soon as I hit the beach, because once my mom set off for the bathroom and I was looking in the beach blanket for the suntanning oil, I saw a stranger hover right above me. The stranger asked me if I wanted any company. I looked up at him as I shielded my eyes from the sun and noticed he was a handsome African-American man with a black mustache at 6 foot tall in height. The stranger was around 25 years old. He must have worked out with weights because he had a professional bodybuilder's physique and reminded me of Ronnie Coleman, who won Mr. Olympia a multitude of times. The man was bulging with muscles from head to toe and was quite a sight to behold, and even more so because I was only a little girl at the time. The man asked me again if I would like any company, but before I could answer, he gently took the suntanning lotion from my hands and sat right next to me as he started to tan my body with the lotion. The suntanning lotion made my whole body tingle as he introduced himself as Jimmy. As I then introduced myself as Sasha, I then told Jimmy that my mom would be returning from the bathroom shortly. As soon as I said this, he had a worried look come across his face. Jimmy then told me that he had to leave soon, but made arrangements to meet up the next day at 1 in the afternoon. But wait, Jimmy, what'll I tell my mom? I asked him worriedly. Jimmy just smiled and looked at me. Just tell her you're with one of your girlfriends on the beach, he responded. She won't know what's really going on, he continued. Boy, was I young and naive little girl back then. I was falling for this enormously built, bodybuilding adult man who was way too old for me to be seeing him to begin with. But Jimmy was so charming and sweet, and I ignored all this. Jimmy then looked at me. "I can see that you enjoy looking at my muscles," he said, smiling as I nodded my head in agreement. "Well, how about this, Sasha honey?" he said as he flexed a big round bicep muscle for me. "Wow, Jimmy, that's big," I exclaimed excitedly, as Jimmy then squeezed harder as his round bicep soared into an enormous mountain peak in size. As soon as he did this, Jimmy allowed me to feel his flexed bicep, which, I must admit, I enjoyed. Jimmy then surprised me as he got closer to me sitting on the blanket, as he put his left brawny arm around me and kissed me lightly on the lips. This made me shiver with excitement. I'd been kissed before by guys, but never by a muscle-bound He-Man like this. Being the silly and naive girl I was, I got lost in the moment. As I lay my back on the blanket and put both hands on the back of my head, as I pursed my lips waiting for another kiss, which was longer this time. Jimmy then asked me, "How was that?" But before I could answer, I saw him dart away. I then looked back and I could see my mom coming. Thank goodness she did not see all this, or there would have been hell to pay. My mom did not only go to the bathroom, but got us some chicken to eat and soda to drink. I was a pretty good actress and pretended nothing had happened when she was gone. But looking back, I was just hurting myself in the long run, not telling her about this pedo man hitting on me. The next day I showed up at the beach at the time Jimmy had set for us, and lo and behold, I saw him waiting on the beach for me. I sat down close to him on the beach blanket as he put his left arm around me. I giggled as I waited for my kiss to come. I looked down to see that Jimmy was excited, because his swimming trunks were much too small for him. After the kiss, Jimmy then raised my face gently to his as we looked into each other's eyes. "I like you, Sasha. Do you like me?" he said as I nodded my head happily. "Do you want to leave the beach and have some more fun with me?" he asked. "We could go to a nearby hotel together and enjoy our time. You do know what that is, and how to do it, right?" Jimmy asked, smiling. I foolishly nodded my head to everything that Jimmy was saying to me. I'd had a few boyfriends who kissed me, but had never gone all the way yet. "You see, honey, once I saw your face, hair, and body, I knew I had to have you for my own," he continued, smiling. I was thinking to myself that I did hit puberty early. My chest was large for my age, and I was curvaceous, and I looked about 18 years old even though I was still 12. Many boys my age were attracted to me, and apparently older guys like Jimmy were also. I looked at Jimmy and tried to return his smile. This all sounded exciting, but I didn't know if I was ready for romance with an adult male, and it was against the law to boot, I thought to myself. Jimmy was looking at me smiling, but this time I could see that it was a fake smile. He just wanted to have his way with me in bed and probably throw me away like an old pair of shoes. Or, even worse, kill me. Some pedos do kill children. I thought this to myself with a shiver. How could I not see his true intentions before? I then thought fast to myself. I could see now that Jimmy was just a wolf in sheep's clothing, trying to take advantage of a young, minor girl, who he thought didn't know any better until it was too late. But it wasn't too late for me yet, as I then told Jimmy I would get a hotel room at Blue Sky Guest House. As I said before, I looked older, and I told Jimmy that I could get a room there and be in bed when he arrived. I told Jimmy to meet me in room 12 at 6 o'clock sharp tomorrow, and I would be waiting at the hotel. A big smile crossed Jimmy's face as he agreed. He then kissed me and left. This last kiss from Jimmy left me with a cold and sour aftertaste because I knew now what a snake in the grass he really was. The next day, at 6 o'clock sharp, I peeked out the window of the hotel room and I saw Jimmy walking up briskly to the hotel. When he got to the door and knocked, I told him the door was open. This hotel had a few rooms, and I told Jimmy I was in the bedroom waiting for him. Jimmy called out to me to hold on a second as he got ready. I was peeking through a closet in the bedroom hiding when I saw Jimmy come in, naked and ready. Just as I thought, Jimmy was hot and ready. Not only was he ready, but I could also smell the liquor on his breath. He'd had a lot of alcohol to drink and was really liquored up for this. Probably just thinking he was going to have his way with me, and not caring at all what I thought. But I had a huge surprise waiting for him. As soon as Jimmy entered the bedroom, I had my Russian friends from my neighborhood, Ivan, Boris, Dmitri, and Vladimir, waiting for him, with brass knuckles and baseball bats, as they soon beat Jimmy to a mess. These Russian mafia members were all young and tough as nails. They did not like predators, and they wanted them out of their neighborhood. I asked them to not kill Jimmy, but to beat him up pretty badly. Jimmy got the point, and he left my neighborhood, badly beaten, but still alive. I was greatly relieved that I had escaped with my own life. Who would have known what would have happened alone with this massive man? My friends from the neighborhood saved my bacon, and I was forever grateful to them. You see, we decided to handle this pedo problem ourselves, and not call the police. Some would say this was small-town justice. Although I escaped this pedo's wrath, I did not escape my mother's wrath. My mom gave me a strong lecture on predators, which I took to heart. I tell you that I was one lucky girl to escape this pedo, knowing that some children were not so lucky. I just hope that I never see the likes of Jimmy, ever again. I grew up in what I believe to be a haunted house. When I was a child, I would often wake up in the night to see shadow people and other things walking around in my bedroom. These things would terrify me to the point that when I would scream, nothing would come out at first. My mother would tell me that I was dreaming. I would ask her how I was dreaming when I'm wide awake. I saw a ghost that looked like a kid wearing a sheet over their head. The sheet was so white that it glowed. I woke up to a miniature person walking on the edge of my bed. I once saw a giant 7-foot-tall man in my room walking straight towards me. He stopped at the edge of my bed and just stared at me, and I had scratches on my neck. My mother still kept saying that I was dreaming, and that I had scratched myself. I pointed out to her that I was wide awake and my hands were on top of my pillows, so I couldn't have scratched myself. I also saw a woman rocking in a rocking chair. Again, my mother said that I was dreaming. The next day, I overheard her talking on the phone, saying that she saw the woman in the rocking chair too. I immediately said loud and clear that I wasn't dreaming because other people can't see your dreams. My sister walked by my room one night and swore that she saw a pirate ship on my wall. Also, my dog avoided my room like it was the bubonic plague. I do have more stories about other rooms in the house, but I'll get into that at another time. So that, my friends, was a collection of 4 strange and scary childhood stories. I decided to name this strange and scary, not just scary, because the context of 2 of the stories, 3 of the stories, it weren't necessarily scary, but they were definitely strange, so I want that to be the official title. If I forget to do it, you can comment, "Hey Raven, you dummy, you forgot to title it that." But if I didn't forget to title it that, you better comment, "Hey Raven, here's a coupon for a free pumpkin spice donut at Dunkin' Donuts, followed by a coupon code to a free pumpkin spice donut from Dunkin' Donuts. I don't even know if Dunkin' Donuts has pumpkin spice donuts right now. I haven't been in a very long time, but Lamar's Donuts, which is very local to me, I probably shouldn't, whatever. Lamar's Donuts has pumpkin spice donuts that have pumpkin pie filling inside the donut itself. It's not like a filled donut. It's a round donut, like a regular cake donut. But it has pumpkin... Why am I talking about this? Pumpkin pie filling, and it has cream cheese icing on top of it. It's delicious. Anyways, scary, strange childhood stories. This was an interesting collection. It was different for me because I don't usually do stories like this, but I wanted to do just childhood scary stories. And I'm glad I did, because these were good, so. I would love to do another one of these. So if any of you guys have more scary childhood stories, even if they're sensitive, if you want to share them, that's a big caveat to what I'm saying here. If you want to share them, consider doing so. Just go to astheravendreams.com or email astheravendreams@gmail.com. Both those are applicable and available. But I would love to do a second one of these because I think there are a lot of childhood-based scary stories we could do. I've done a lot of them, actually, just never in a collection of just childhood stories. I don't know. I don't know why I want to do it like that. I just do. Let's just do things. Let's just get this done. Come on. You, listeners, me, narrator, let's just do another childhood scary stories collection. Just do it. Let's go. Or not. If you have some at work stories or dating stories or urbex stories or stories about parents, I actually got a parent story I'm going to do in October, parent video, some unexplained stories or even some Halloween scary stories or autumn scary stories, please send those my way. I need them. October is going to be a very cram-packed month as long as I have enough stories to do. It will not, mind you, be a video a day for the first 2 weeks of the month, but then after that, I screwed things up a little bit. So the last 3 weeks of October are going to be a video a day, and then the first 2 weeks of November are going to be a video a day. That's the plan. Now, we know what they say about plans and those who have them. You're setting yourself up for failure. That was hard to say. You're setting yourself up for failure by planning like this, but we're going to try. We've successfully done it twice this year. We're going to try again. Except we're spreading it over 2 months for spooky season, so let's go. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the stories. If you did, please do hit the like button. If you're new to the channel and liked what you heard, consider, subscribing. I hiccuped really hard. That hurt. Consider subscribing. You can also join Patreon and memberships to get early access to content like this. I am selling posters that are signed by me and numbered, as long as they sell. I've sold one as of the recording of this video, so maybe more by the time it goes live, who knows. I'm shipping them out ASAP. I get the order, I go to Pirate Ship, I sign the poster, I set it up in the little tube, I ship it next day, typically. So, give it a shot. They're $15, $7 something for shipping, because that seems like a good average. And I'm doing them priority shipping, so they will have tracking. I'm babbling a lot. Super thanks just a tip to the channel. You can listen elsewhere on Spotify and such. All that said, friends, hope you're having a beautiful weekend by the time this video goes live. Hope you have a great day, and I hope I see you again here very soon. Until then, remember, you are loved, you are valid, you are important, you are the best you that you can be. Do not forget it, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And until next time, my friends, much love, and sleep well.